Welcome to the No Streetlights podcast. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Tim. We'll be diving deeply into what we've been through, how it changed us, and what we've learned.
We want to crush stigmas through sharing stories in open and vulnerable conversations.
These conversations could be triggering, so listen at your own discretion.
But please, reach out if we need to be doing something better. So, let's take a breath, relax, and be welcome. A huge thank you to Hyland Markle for the original music.
And everything else.
We could not have done it without you, brother. Thank you.
His links are down in the show notes.
This week, we are joined by an incredible Latin American artist and a very close friend of the family. So, everyone, please welcome Catie Waters.
Yay! First of all, thank you for having me.
I'm actually very excited to have you on here, Catie. I've been wanting to have you on an episode pretty much since we conceived the idea of the podcast. I was like, you know who I want to talk to? I want to talk to Catie.
Oh, I'm honored. Well, thank you for having me. I'm so down to talk and see what we can come up with today.
Well, I'm very excited.
So, Tim, why did you want to talk to Catie?
Catie is a very good friend of my wife's. That's how I met her. She was at my wedding, and I liked her energy. I liked who she is as a person. And every time I've gotten to talk with her since then, I've just always enjoyed the conversation. But on top of all that, beyond just being a great person to talk with, Catie's actually a musician. And as a former musician in my previous life, I feel like there's a kindred bond between us. So I want to talk to her, and I just want to hear her story and ask her some questions about what it's like living my dream.
Oh, oh, well, that's so sweet. Yeah, I mean, I'm here for the questions and also just getting to know you guys and seeing your different perspectives and really digging into music and why it's so important to us.
So, I know in our brainstorm sesh, we kind of said we wanted to start off with your music. So, do you want to talk about getting started as an artist, how that kind of came about?
Absolutely. Music's always been a part of me. It's something I was born with. It's my passion. It's what I love to do. And I feel that it's my calling.
Last night, before we came on our recording session, you said you wanted to talk about Latino influences in your music. And I know we wanted to talk about how your music got started. So do you kind of want to talk about how being in Texas, surrounded in the Latino culture, has really influenced your music?
Absolutely. Well, of course, Selena Quintanilla is real big here. It's kind of a canon event. We all grew up hearing about her incredible legacy and social impact on not only Tejanos or Tejano music, but also Latin Americans across the world. She's so beloved. And whenever we hear Dreaming of You, it really takes us back to our roots and our childhoods listening. So, but stuff like that, just such a rich culture, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. And it's a wonderful thing to celebrate it every year. Of course, I celebrate Mi Gente all year long, but this is a special time where we especially get to put forth the great Latino histories and contributions of our communities.
Where do you draw your inspiration from?
My music journey started in a small practice room upstairs of my childhood church. Gospel music, like jazz, is my musical foundation. It's the first thing I ever loved in this world. So I've always been drawn to anything soulful, soul music, soul power. Like, that's totally my jam, and it's what I'm about. However, just being Mexican American and being Latina, it's always going to be in my household growing up and what we listen to. So I think as a musician, it's important to listen to all the genres, see the masters of every genre and see what they were doing and pick up from that and let that teach you something that you can inflect in your own art.
That's really beautiful. Yeah. Honestly, I've never really sat there and thought to myself, right, whenever I first started playing guitar and doing the getting into a band and recording music, I never thought to myself, like, who was my biggest inspiration? I knew what I wanted to sound like, but I never felt like I had a deep root. And maybe that's why I never stayed in the music community. I didn't have a solid ground to build myself up on. It sounds like
That
you
makes
did,
sense.
though, from a very young age. I mean,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. For me, I mean, music kind of was my saving grace. It gave me purpose, as I said before, but also it's the first time I truly felt understood. Listening to artists like Billie Holiday and Marvin Gaye and Nina Simone, people who were not only musicians, but they also used their voice for different civil rights movements and really standing up for their communities. And growing up in the South, being mixed race, a lot of times I was the token in classrooms or in churches or even just walking into a store. You feel a certain type of energy when you walk inside. So I definitely was always looking for my identity, as we all do. And I didn't have like that teacher, the Latino teacher, to help me with that. So I definitely turned to music, and, Nina, Billy, Marvin, Donnie, they all became my teachers. And that's when I felt at home and somebody understands what I'm going through, my day-to-day life.
That's lovely. It sounds to me like you're saying music is your soul. We've talked about how we kind of have to focus on our physical health, mental health, emotional health, and our spiritual health. And it sounds like music has allowed you to kind of understand what you're going through and feel understood, because it sounds like you didn't feel like you were being seen as yourself, but as the Latina. So I think it's important that you found music to be able to tell your story and feel heard.
Absolutely. I can honestly say music was the tool of the universe that God provided me to make it through. I wouldn't be here without music. It's such a gift, and it gave me my reason of existence.
And I guess something that I'm kind of curious about, right? Like, still starting at the very beginning here, jumping into performing. When did you know that that was where you wanted to go? Like, connecting with it and everything, but how did you springboard that into where you are now?
Well, I've always been an old soul. Like my dad always called me growing up his little granny. I loved like diners. I grew up with like 4 channels on television, right? And one of them was like a vintage oldies movies, like all the MGM movies. So I grew up loving that kind of music, that era, that sound, and it absolutely influenced me and raised me into the musician I am today. But yeah, I think it's just it's one of those things that's grounded me and taught me how to be a performer, how to command a stage, how to run a band, how to understand the music business. That's so important because
Yeah.
as creatives, sometimes we just want to focus on the creativity part of it, but we have to be able to protect ourselves and protect our art and how it goes out into the world.
Definitely makes sense.
Mhm.
So, little side question here for you, because you're talking about little granny here.
Yeah.
I grew up kind of similar, right? I feel like my household was the embodiment of like 1979.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like every time I watch like movies from that time period, like I see
Mhm.
the freaking fake wood paneling on the inside of the house and the ugly carpets and the couches and stuff. And to me, that's so nostalgic because that's how I grew
Mhm.
up. My house, the television in my room was probably like a 10-inch television that had like this built-in metal stand that came from the bottom of it and the two bunny ears coming out on
Oh,
top.
yeah.
It was in black and white, and I don't even know if we actually were able to even watch anything on there. We just had like an old Super Nintendo hooked up to it,
Mhm.
and my brother and I would just play like Street Fighter all the time when we were kids.
Yeah, that's funny.
So I connect with that like old soul, the little granny. Well, I guess
Mhm.
for me, I'd be little grandpa. I'll take
Oh,
little
yeah.
granny too. I don't really
Granny,
care.
grandpa, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Whatever. Do you also do knitting?
I don't.
Yet.
Yet.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But no.
That crochet is the start of knitting, I think.
No, right. No, I'm not talented in that way. I think I made a pot holder once as a kid, like a little knitting thing. That's about
That's
it.
pretty fantastic.
That's, yeah.
Uh, yeah, but outside of music, I really love to read. I'm a voracious reader. I've got quite an extensive library, ever building. I don't need more books, but I love them. So
You said, music is kind of you telling your story. It feels to me about 50-50 split between that nostalgic feeling like an old soul, and then another half is like you coming into your power and kind of embodying your femininity and your power. So do you want to speak a little bit to that? Do you feel that when you're creating your music?
absolutely. I think energy matters. It's all about the intention behind the work. When you surround yourself with the right creative sources, you'd be surprised the places you can go. So just having the right energy around me and bringing good energy myself has pulled things out of me that I thought I could never do, just vocally, emotionally, when I'm performing or recording. Because a lot of times you can get in your head being in the booth for, a couple of hours. You're like stuck in a box, right? And you're just like, ugh, and you're hearing the music over and over in your head.
Yep.
My best takes, honestly, are when I'm not thinking about it and I just let it go. Just go with feeling.
So being present.
Absolutely. And I'm a perfectionist by nature. I want every little nuance, every little breath to be a certain way. Oh, this needs to be shorter. This needs to be longer. But sometimes in music, people can feel that when something is too in your head, too forced. It's just better to just let it go. Like have all your training there and your diaphragm, how you're breathing, have your technique ready, but just let it go. Muscle memory will take care of itself.
So you're the type who you're going to be in the booth for hours doing take after take after take until you feel like you've got the perfect one, as opposed to being out vibing and then going and recording like the silver bullet.
I think it depends. Every song's different, right? Just like every child is different, has its own personality, its own vibe. So sometimes you can do it in one take. It just really depends. If it's more technically challenging, what you're doing vocally, like if we're doing a lot of vocal acrobats or building a bunch of stacks or harmonies on top of each other, then it can take longer because you want everything to be sung the same so that those stacks match and those vocals match each other. So it's cohesive. When you hear it harmonized, it's it's all together like a chorus, just like in real life, but it would be just one person. Sometimes my producer has to tell me, okay, Catie, we're done. I'm like, are we done? Okay. Are we stepping away? Okay. Sometimes you have to tell me like, it's enough. You're good. We don't have to keep working on this one little part. You're good. I love the take. We're done. We're not touching it.
Yeah.
Be like, okay, we're done. It's really hard, but I'm like, all right, I'll step away. Come out and listen. Okay, let's listen. Let's listen down. It's really hard, but you have to let it go. Eventually, you've got to let these songs go. They're not yours, and they just go out into the world, and then they become something else entirely, and they belong to someone else's life.
That was something that you said whenever we had spoken to you before, but that idea, right? Whenever you make the song, it's not yours. You put it out there and it becomes other people's, right? It exists out in the universe. I thought that was a beautiful thing. I've never really looked at it like that. And I'm kind of learning a lot here as I'm talking to you about music. I mean, obviously you're a professional musician and I, played a guitar a couple times. So.
Oh, stop. Musician for sure. If you can, it's 3 chords in the truth, right? That's what they say. So musician, you're a musician.
Something else that you said that really stuck out to me as well was people can feel sincerity behind it whenever you're doing the music, right? And it's the intention that matters when you're making the music. Because the first thing that came to my mind was like, whenever you listen to, as an example, whenever I was trying to learn how to like do my first solo on a guitar, I was just playing chords, or not chords, but going through like scales. And it just sounded kind of boring, sad almost. And then it was like, because it it was paint by numbers, like do 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 do, like it's nothing, right? But then it was like that moment whenever I would just stop caring and just kind of play to play, right? I just went with the feeling, I went with the emotion, and it felt more natural, and you could hear it
That's
like
the
that
entire
too.
idea behind jazz.
It's incredible, right? And I would say one thing that I'm kind of curious about when it comes to your creative process is whenever it comes to like writing lyrics and stuff like that, is that how you feel whenever you're writing the lyrics too? Like sometimes you have to just let the feeling go with it, or are you more critical about your lyrics?
Absolutely. Well, I take great pride in my storytelling since it is my craft. I always want to do better. I want to I want to give something new every time to the audience, right? And tell a new story. And I want to make sure it comes from an authentic, as you said, sincere place because people can feel that. And also just being a reader and being the granddaughter of an English teacher, it definitely drills into my head sentence structure and how to build a story
Yeah.
in a musical format. So yeah, I think definitely writing's such a big part. It's what I listen to as a vocalist. My guys will tell you all the time in the band. I'll tell them a part of a song like, hey, can you come back to this section? And I'll say the lyric. And they're like, I don't know what that is because they don't listen to the lyrics a lot of the time. They're listening to the musical conversation instead of the verbal conversation, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I have to say and said, no, let's take it back to the B section. Let's go to the A section. I need to hear this part again, whatever. So that's something I'm like, ah. So when I find people who actually listen to lyrics, they care about what's actually being said in conjunction with the musical conversation. That is my favorite thing in the world. I have definitely a list of my favorite songwriters, and I'm always learning from them and picking up something new. Like, I wish I wrote that song. It's so good, but it's definitely a big part. Definitely a big part of the process. And sometimes we'll decide like, oh, this song needs a bridge. So I'll just write something in the studio, like right away. And you just hear something, come up with an idea and you go for it. So it really does depend on the song, how it goes. But yeah, it's a fun process. It's very creative.
So you even do rewrites in the booth?
I do. Like sometimes we'll find like a certain song isn't fitting like the musical format, or like it just sounds kind of awkward. Like, okay, let's change the line. As long as we keep the meaning of what the story is, then, we'll do a rewrite here, or I'll write another verse. Like, hey, we need another verse. Okay, let's write another verse. So it just depends, but I'm pretty fast. I'm a fast thinker. I'm a fast writer. So I've gotten good at that. If I need to, I can just pick it up and go. And I get really excited. I'm like, we did that under pressure. Yeah.
Under pressure.
Being a very well-read individual will definitely help that too.
Love Queen.
I love Queen as well.
I love that bridge for Under Pressure specifically. Like a great bridge is
Let's
it
talk
for
about
me for a song. Love that bridge. It's good. Yeah.
What is it about the bridge that does it for you?
Just the emotion, the storytelling, the writing. You can just feel it. It's, love it. I'm hearing it in my head right now, but it's great. I love that. That was a great collab too with Bowie. Like, yes.
Could you really do that collab wrong?
No, you can't, right? And like some of them are crazy to me. Like I was re-listening to what was it, Linkin Park and Jay-Z when they did their collab in the 2000s.
Yes.
I was like, oh, let's go. Let's go.
That was probably my first real dive into like rap, because I didn't really listen to it a lot growing up.
And that's the point of it. It just brought a whole new audience to each genre, which is, I mean, when you think about it, so like musicians, we don't think about it in terms of genres. Like we don't associate because they're R&B and I'm country. We don't associate because, I feel like that's something that, labels and business and the world, like they've set up those boxes. But when you look at it, really look at it, creatives, like we're just creative people. And we're taking in everything that we hear. And yeah, we have to perform and sell our albums under a certain genre and format. But really, we're listening to everything. We're vibing to everyone's music. It's just a big party.
So the genre that you are specifically labeled as, it's jazz, right?
Jazz, yeah.
Okay.
My last album was jazz. I'm actually signed under Trip and Rhythm Records. That's a jazz record label.
Okay.
For the most part. I think we do have a few alternative artists too, but it's under Sony. But my next album, which will be coming out soon, guys, you don't have to wait too much longer. It's going to be R&B. So
Ooh.
yeah, which is just exploring another facet of my musical imprint. So I'm excited to share and show everybody what I've got, what I've been cooking.
How'd that feel to record versus your traditional jazz stuff that you've probably grown accustomed to? Did it feel more fun or more relaxed, or was it more stressful?
I'm not scared of the unknown. I always want to make sure I'm comfortable being uncomfortable so I can push myself and continue to grow and innovate as an artist. I think people would get bored if I didn't, right? You can't just keep coming out with the same sound over and over. Then they'll say, oh, this girl, everything she puts out sounds the same. It sounds the same. So you want to keep pushing yourself to do different sounds and different textures in your art and in your painting, right? Your vocal painting. So you have a question?
Actually, yes. So, okay. So your previous album was jazz.
Yes.
Hopefully very soon music is going to breathe more into the R&B area, but is there any other genres that you'd be willing to try out? My wife, she really thinks that you could do rock music as an example. So is that something you'd ever be willing to branch off to? Or is there any other genres?
I don't know. I don't want to live in absolutes. I don't want to absolutely say no because you never know.
Right.
So it's possible. I love rock music. I love alternative music as well. I definitely don't limit myself. I think sometimes in my voice, you definitely hear my influences. Like if you listen to Billie Holiday or Nina Simone and you connect that after hearing my vocal takes, then you'd be like, oh yeah, I can totally hear that influence in her voice. I have a natural like vibrato, and that's not necessarily always in rock music or alternative. It's not that it isn't, but like, it's not as usual. So never say never. I could. Maybe if it's the right collaboration, I'd definitely be down. I'd be down.
Talking about influences and everything, I don't know if you've heard this before, or maybe you've heard it too many times. I don't know. But do you view Amy Winehouse as an influence to you whenever you're trying to perform or anything?
Do you mean like on a stage or vocal setting, writing setting, or just overall?
To elaborate a little bit further, when I was listening to your music, I could hear like it was giving me like Amy Winehouse vibes. That's why I'm asking that, because I was like, oh my God, like this sounds, I was like, oh wow, geez. And that's kind of where like my idea for the whole rock thing came about too. And because I completely agree with my wife in this statement, like your voice is very powerful, and I love the sound that you do. But yeah, so because like the Amy Winehouse thing, it's like it's going through my head when I listen to your music. So I'm just wondering if anyone's ever told you that before, or if you intentionally do pull that into your influences.
It's funny. As a kid, I was probably like 12, 13, and I started being told that I sound like this artist, Amy Winehouse. And also, at the time what was it? It was Amy Winehouse and Erykah Badu. Those are the two female artists I was always compared to. And I was like, oh, okay. I'd never heard them before. I'm a Christian girl. I grew up in a really religious household. We weren't allowed to listen to music that was outside of the church, right? Outside of gospel music. So I had to sneak in everything that I wanted to listen to and borrow it from my friends and see what I could listen to, what I could get my hands on. Like I didn't even know who the Beatles were. I was like, who's that? Ringo?
No.
Like, I know, but how fun was it when I finally, was like 12, 13 and I'm hearing all these new sounds. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. It's just like an explosion of sound. But to answer your question, I am compared to them, and I definitely did my homework and looked them up, and I was like, oh, I do sound like them a little bit. We probably listened to the same people, I know she was a big fan of Donny Hathaway, and so am I. Like, I love the Lord. He heard my cry. That whole album is just so sonically interesting what he did. And, I think it's unfortunate his life came to such an end so fast, and he really dealt with mental health. But he was in the time of Stevie Wonder. It was like they were both in the same kind of lane at the time.
Right.
So we probably just listen to the same people, but it's such an honor to be compared to them. I definitely look up to them, and I do listen to their music.
So while we're on the topic of influences, and you just talked about really being involved in alternate music, so I want to see how deep down this rabbit hole you want to go.
Oh.
Are we talking Modest Mouse and Cake, or are we talking like Dodo's, Animal Collective? Are you into Beck? Like, what are we talking about?
I listen
here?
to some Beck. I do. I jam with some Beck. I grew up on my stepdad, Vince. He would always have me listen to like Nirvana, Sisters of Mercy, although that's more goth music, not really alternative. 9 Inch Nails. I'm trying to think.
So you were more in Tim's alley, more in Tim's wheelhouse.
Well, like that's like my dad. That's like what he had me listen to. But
Boomer rock like me, yeah.
I do like Nirvana though. And all of those artists are great. I've been listening to Death Cab for Cutie. Thank You for Today. I love that album. I like some indie alternative, but of course I can jam to like Smashing Pumpkins and whatnot.
So the way that I kind of see these genres being different, and I love that you're branching out because that means you are capable of telling stories in different ways. Mm-hmm. I think of like metal and rock as like building a house. First you have to have a sick chorus or intro or whatever, and then you have to have your bass line, et cetera, et cetera. You guys, the artists, you're going to know more nomenclature than me. But then a lot of your stuff, it feels more like a ballad. It feels like you're telling a story, painting a picture. So is that something you actively consider in your process? Do you feel like you're building a house, or are you writing and singing a ballad?
I think for every musician, it's different how we interpret, how we see music. I specifically see music in colors. So when I'm listening to music, I see bursts of colors, different colors. Like it has different tones to bring different sounds into my head, right? So it paints a different picture, paints a different vibe. So I always think about it like a painting. That's how I see it. But everybody's different, and everybody experiences music in a different way. So I think that makes for great conversation, and that's why I'm here.
So kind of going in the same vein as that, is that feeding into the idea, like your songs are not just like 3.5 minute long songs. They're actually quite longer, approaching more the 5.5 minute. Is that kind of part of the process? Like the colors that you're coming up with, like the image isn't complete until you hit a certain time frame, or it doesn't matter the time frame. You're going for a specific idea, a certain feel.
Well, just from a marketing standpoint, I do have to have a certain number of songs. Like if it's going to be a radio single, it needs to be at a certain mark, right? Like at a 2:30 mark or 3 minutes. It shouldn't be really longer than that because that's too long for radio of today, right? We don't have Van Halen with his guitar solo. Unfortunately, I wish we did, or Bohemian Rhapsody. So you do have to keep those things in mind when you're creating, but obviously you can have some songs that are longer on an album and it probably won't be a radio single unless the fans come in and they decide it's their favorite. Then, they have the ultimate power. They can make whatever they want popular, and it can be on the radio. It might have a little edit to make it a tiny bit shorter, but like they hold the power. So truly, it could be anything, but it's really popular as well to have intros on albums right now, or really short songs. Like I think because our generation's changed, I'm Gen Z, because we like to have everything so right away. I'm seeing it in music right now. There's a shift where it's more like a 2-minute mark, or even like a 1 minute and 30 mark. It's short songs right now, man. Short songs.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that too. So the surprise I had when I was listening through on your album So my favorite song off of that album is a 5.5 minute long song. It's Mountain Sound. And I love it because of the way, the emotion that I felt when I was listening to it, it made me feel like I was at home, like it was pulling up those nostalgic feelings of being young and kind of just driving through the mountainous roads of West Virginia. Like, I don't have a lot of great things to say about West Virginia, but I absolutely love the countryside in it. And Mountain Sound, that was what I was feeling the entire time. So I was very appreciative that it was 5.5 minutes, because it was 5.5 minutes of pure nostalgia and love.
Oh, well, thank you so much. There's nothing more rewarding to hear as an artist or a songwriter when your music makes a home in somebody else's memories and plays. So woo woo. Like, thank you. I really appreciate it. But that's also what I wanted to accomplish with that song. I wanted that sound to feel like a hug and to take you back to where you're from. And it's wonderful to hear that, because we didn't grow up in the same place. I'm from the Ozarks in Arkansas. So shout out to NWA. Hey, hey. But, I grew up a mountain girl. So it's funny to hear like that connects with somebody else who grew up in a completely different place than me. That's the power of music. That's what makes it so, the center of the universe for me.
Yeah, definitely. So since you've become a professional musician, how has your life changed?
It's crazy. To me, sometimes I have to pinch myself because just genuinely, sometimes I do feel a little bit of imposter syndrome because, I grew up pretty modestly with a single dad, in a small college town growing up. And as much as I always dreamed of these things, and I knew I was going to be there, I knew I was going to sing on these stages and tell stories to people. I was going to make that my life. I knew that for sure. But I had no idea how I was going to get there or how I would accomplish these things. It just, sometimes it doesn't really seem real. Like I wasn't supposed to have all these things, but, I think that's the blessing that I was given, definitely divinely. So I definitely take that into account and appreciate it. But, what is life? I'm always invited to different events and, I get to meet movie stars and hang out with cool people and just all walks of life and travel to different countries, like play stages in Dubai or Oman. And that's not something like a little Arkansas girl would have ever been able to do without, a little bit of divine power. So I feel really fortunate and I don't take it for granted. And especially for all the people who have been my ride or dies for so long and have helped me on this journey.
Yeah, definitely. I was doing like a half joke earlier whenever I was saying that you're living my dream. But in all seriousness, when I was approximately 4 or 5, I remember getting it was basically like child's first guitar, first electric guitar. And I don't know what it was about Elvis Presley when I was a kid, but I wanted to be Elvis Presley so bad. And
you've got the hair for it.
Yeah, right. I never had any professional training or anything like that, but I would just go out in the living room. I'd plug in my tiny little guitar amp that it came with, and I would strum whatever. Guitar wasn't even in tuning. I don't know why they got it for me, but it was loud and probably really annoying. But I would just want to be Elvis Presley so bad. And I feel like a lot of people, they have that idea when they're younger. They grow up and they see musicians, and I feel like a lot of professional musicians, it feels like they're just younger and younger these days. But like growing up watching like the Jonas Brothers when I was a kid, they were a kid, like I was watching them play on Disney Channel, Ali and AJ. I grew up seeing them. I wanted to be a musician. So whenever it comes to trying to make that dream or realize that dream, like what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's starting out or wants to start out?
I think you have to come from a very genuine place of just wanting to work hard in pursuit of your goals and your dreams, whatever craft you are, whether you're, and I learned this actually, I'll bring it back a little bit for Latino Heritage Month, but my friend Richard Montanez, he is the inventor of Flaming Hot Cheetos, right? He started out in a Frito-Lay company as a janitor, but he always had this incredible attitude and perspective of, I'm a janitor. I'm going to be the best janitor this place has seen, and I'm going to do it the Montañez way, right? I'm going to make it spotless. That's what it's going to be. And he had a dream to invent the flaming hot Cheetos and brought it all the way to corporate and became the VP of PepsiCo, right? Like, these things aren't supposed to happen to us, especially people who look like us, brown people or mixed race people. Like, it's a lot harder to climb up that ladder. But I would say my advice is just definitely learn the business. As I said before, you have to protect yourself. You have to protect yourself, because otherwise people will be making money off of your music and you won't see anything. That's the way of it. Or, also understanding like what kind of a sound's going to work radio wise, what's going to hit the public probably, like what's a smart way to be able to market yourself and market your sound that's going to hit airwaves. So stuff like that. But also, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Go and take every class you can. Go learn everything you can and just take it in. And also just have that Richard attitude of like, yeah, I'm going to do this. For me, it was like, I'm going to do this like a Waters. Like, we never give up. We're going to keep going, keep moving forward, man, until we get to where we need to be. So that's my advice. And read your contract.
Wasn't it it was either Backstreet Boys or NSYNC that famously had a really awful contract, and like, even though they were massively popular at the time, they were making pretty much no money. Like, that's so sad to hear.
I think it was both of them. They were actually,
maybe it was, yeah.
They were under the same guy. I forget his name now, but I do remember reading about that, how they had to go to court and get to the rights to their music. So
that is so unfortunate. Yeah, learning the business, but then also because that mindset, right? Like you you said that you wanted to do things like a Waters, right? You had that soul inside of you, and you had that drive, and having that mindset, the mindset where you, no matter whatever the job is in front of you, you're going to do the absolute best possible job you can. Like, I feel like that's leaps and bounds over the people who are like, well, I'm just going to figure it out as I go.
Absolutely. Well, it's also my background. My dad's a police officer, retired now, but for 25 years, I was constantly taught about public service. And the number one thing my dad always taught me was, how can I help? Right? How can I help? How can I be of service to you? How can we collaborate to each other? So I definitely brought that into just my business savvy and how I collaborate with other artists or people in the music business, because I think people can smell it a mile away if you're being insincere and you're just kissing up or whatever. But if you come from an incredibly sincere place, say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. And I think we'd kill it together in the studio. Let's collaborate. Like, you'd be surprised. You would be so surprised at just, these guys waiting for somebody to talk to them like a normal person and just say, hey, man, let's get in the studio. Let's go cook. Let's go cook some music together. That's what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Recently, I had a frustrating encounter where someone asked what I'd been up to. I said, I'm killing it with my podcast. And they went, oh, well, have you gotten a real job yet? Or are you still just... And I was like, oh, no, podcasting is a full-time job. Trust you, me. And listening back to some of our older episodes, I realized that Tim had 2 full-time jobs when I wasn't putting in my my part. So I'm definitely glad to be working more on the podcast. But one thing that you mentioned in your brainstorm sesh, you said you loved that we talk about mental health and stuff. So what are some of the hard parts about being an artist that some people are like, I work for a living? I'm sure the travel's not easy. I'm sure the schedule, hotel back to back, being jet lagged and still performing. So do you want to talk a little bit about how being an artist isn't all glitz and glam?
Sure, absolutely. I think, like anything else, you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days, no matter what profession you're in, right? You're still a person, you're still a human being, you still experience day-to-day life. So, we have run-ins, like sometimes we don't get to do sound check. That happened to me and I was freaking out. I was like, huh? What do you mean we don't get to do sound check at a new place where we don't know, the sound engineer? Huh? What? So, you're always going to have challenges thrown at you in life. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the janitor at Frito-Lay, like Richard. We're all going to go through things as human beings. I think the thing to remember is just know who you are and center yourself in whatever the issue is. Again, this also goes back to, we tend to see the world through the eyes of our parents, right? So I tend to see the world through the eyes of my father, a cop. So my thing is always like, I need to de-escalate. All these guys are looking to me like I'm leading them, even if I am the youngest, even if I am a female. I'm the boss. So I have to make sure everyone's taken care of, everyone's okay, and that we're safe and we can perform and like live happy. So that's my job. And that's something that I actually take great pride in, as well. As my guys have always said, when something goes wrong, you were so calm. You were so calm. I get told that all the time when something happens, and I'm like, it's my dad. It's my dad coming out of me. So I think just having a calm, cool collectedness, just being yourself, you showing up and being prepared, being ready to go with a good attitude, that can go a long way. Your attitude is your altitude, as they say.
How good?
That was a long answer.
Well, we've still got 10 minutes before we hit the hour mark, so if you want to keep going.
Oh, okay, sure. What else do we want to talk about, guys?
I kind of want to bring it back a little bit to being more specific with some inquiries about your music, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So we've already said this a million times, but I can't not say it, right? I've listened through your album and I love it. Is there a song that you've released that you consider your magnum opus or your masterpiece? Or if not, do you think there's ever going to be a song that you release that you think will have that impact or that feeling from you?
I think in order to reach that kind of level, it has to be all the stars aligning, right? It has to be something that resonates with the public, something that resonates with you, something that has a sort of social impact or emotional impact, right? Okay. So I'm not sure if I've reached that level, but personally for me, I mean, the song that comes to mind is my single Stone Child that I recorded from my first album. I think for me, that is the song that woke me up, that said, oh, I can do this. I can write my own songs. I can sing soulfully. I can have this music playing on the radio. I can have this playing in Japan. I can have this going anywhere. And it really opened up my mind to the possibilities and where music can take you when you just let it go and put the work in and see what it can do. So for me, that is, I think, the most important one.
Makes a lot of sense.
I wonder what season you're on. Because season 1 was our pilot. We found our voice on episode 5, which is your Stone Child. And then we're moving forward into season 2, where we feel like we're providing a much more polished product. How many steps deep do you feel like you are? Like, are you on season 4 Catie Waters, or are you season 5 Catie Waters?
I'm old. I've always been old spiritually. So I'm on season 80. We're season 80, honey.
Little granny. Little granny.
I'm getting tired.
So you talked about not being able to do sound check here recently. Mm-hmm. Could you tell us about maybe a performance that you weren't super stoked on and what it taught you? Because that's another thing we're huge on, is extracting life's lessons.
Right. I mean, I'm not going to say anything specifically because, we want to be invited. Yeah. Don't want to hate on anybody. I'm winking. You guys can't see it at home, but there's lots of winks, lots of unnecessary winking. Okay. But I think there's one particular performance I can remember where the sound engineer, it just wasn't happening. We couldn't hear ourselves. We have things on stage which are called monitors. You have to have a certain monitors on stage so that the horn guys can hear themselves. So I can hear myself because, if my band leader, my music director is a saxophone player, right? So horns are usually by me. So we can have eye contact. If I can be like, what's happening back there? And I can fix it. We got to get that. Let's get it. Because this is a live stage, so anything can happen. Anything can happen. It's not like we can redo. So yeah. I need to be able to see my MD and know what's going on around me while I'm singing a song at the same time. So when we don't have all those pieces coming together, my ears get blown out because I'm listening to horns and I'm hearing drums here. Or it's too much in my mix. And I'm telling the guy, turn it down, please turn it down. Lord Jesus, please turn it down because I can't hear. So sometimes you're just going to get whatever you get from my vocal take. If I can't hear myself, Lord, but it is what it is, so sometimes that's the thing that sucks. Sometimes we have perfect shows, like every note was right. We were on, the guys could feel the energy, the crowd's giving us energy. So we're pushing back that energy back to them. Everyone's in a vibe. It's a vibe. Those are the best days. But of course we have those bad days, and it's happened to me, and I beat myself up and I'm like my voice blew out, or, I had a rehearsal the day before, and don't do that. Don't have a full rehearsal the night before. It's just not, your voice needs to rest. It's a muscle. It has to rest, for you to run that marathon, vocal marathon. So yeah, I'm just like a scrambled brain. If something goes wrong, I'm just like, and I don't let anyone else know that. But of course I want to do better. But, I always just have my own mini games of like, next performance, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make sure this, and then I feel okay again. So it's all right. You just kind of have to go with the punches. That's life. There's going to be good and bad. So it's okay.
What about a performance that you were incredibly happy about? Like, was there one that stands out in your mind as like, this is the best performance I have done yet?
The Dubai performance. That one. That was the one.
Hell yeah.
Love it.
That one. Perfect.
So why Dubai?
It was just so much fun. We had like a crowd of, I want to say, 8,000 people.
Wow.
So it was a good sized crowd. It was my first time, and I think many of my band's first time performing in the Middle East. I didn't know what to expect. Just as American, you feel nervous, like with English, is it going to be okay? Are all the nuances going to hit just verbally, right? So I think that was it was a near perfect show. I think like keys maybe played like one note that I heard, and that was it. And that was still incredibly well, because we had to have a fill-in that day for piano because our piano guy couldn't make it out. And so that guy had to learn like 30 new songs, that's a lot. So he did incredibly well under pressure. And I just was so proud of my guys. We went through quite a bit on our journey there, and through the airport, we got stranded actually. So we had a lot of things just happening to us, and we finally made it there. We made it to the stage, and we're like, okay, look, we're going to have a great show. They're not ever going to know what happened, right? We're going to give the best damn show we've ever given. And we did. The crowd was incredible. I was excited to see faces, right? I was excited to see like what's going on in the crowd. What are they feeling? What song's hitting them? What's the vibe? And it was just such crazy energy that they gave us. And I was so proud of the guys and how we all pulled it together despite the things that were thrown at us and the turmoil. We came through, we showed up, and I'm really proud of what we did on that stage. We really left it all out there. It was a great show. I love Dubai.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm so glad that you had incredible experience.
It's rock and roll at the end of the day, right? That's what music is. It's experiences. And I still had a wonderful time, and I learned some new things in Turkey. I was even mistaken for a Turkish woman, so I was listening. I love the coffee. It was very good, so it's still an overall good experience.
You should give some BB's coffees a try sometime.
Yeah, let's get some BB's coffee.
Have some No Streetlights podcast brew.
The right sound, right taste.
Yeah, there we
Last tangent we've got here. I can't go another minute without talking about the Studio Ghibli plush you have behind you of My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite Studio Ghibli film?
Spirited Away. That was the first film I ever saw from that company. It's my favorite. I love it. It has a special place in my heart. Chihiro.
Your plushie's My Neighbor Totoro.
I know it is. That was a gift, though.
It's super adorable though.
It is. It's so cute. It's like you guys can't see it, but it's the classic gray and white, just like Totoro.
If you know Totoro and you know plushies, you know what it looked like, fam.
You know exactly what it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a Spirited Away thing yet, so if anyone wants to give me one, go for it.
Yeah, I would love to
P.O.
see
box will be in the show notes.
Yeah.
I know it's gonna be tons of Spirited Away. Guys, I was kidding. Don't do it.
Yeah, just send it
I
to
have
me and I'll send her.
I really want to see a no face plushie next time we talk to you, Catie.
I would love it. I'll put it in my studio.
Perfect. I think that would be horrifying at night. Just walk in there, it's a black mask with like a ghost face.
Next to a Jensen Ackles cutout. That's what
Oh
we're
my
doing.
god! I want a
Yes.
Jensen Ackles cut out in my
You
background.
know, we gotta inspire everybody.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
going to go meet him.
I already did that. Now I just got to get the cutout.
No, I mean, I'm going to drive to his company and
Oh,
demand he sees me.
His brewery
Family
in
business,
Texas. Yeah, family
In
business.
Austin. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there.
I'll just.
been there?
Yeah, I'll fly down to
have.
visit Kirsten and Catie and.
Yes.
I
Road
will
trip.
demand that I
Let's go.
speak to Jensen.
Okay, but if I get stationed in Texas next, that's
Yeah.
guaranteed a family road trip that we're going to be doing, Catie. I hope you know that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And if I see Jensen Ackles, just ignore all the drool. Just
Y'all are gonna have to hold me. I'm gonna faint. I don't get starstruck, but like I would.
I also will faint. Actually, did you heard my story about getting starstruck with Jensen? So
I
you
did. It's adorable.
never again. It'll happen again. If I
When
see
you told me the finger gun, I was like proud Texan right there. I was like, he's so Texan. I love him. I love the Texas boys. Come on now. We always gotta represent Texas.
Jensen Ackles, come on our podcast, please. I want to talk to you. Please.
I'll sit in the corner. I'll be real quiet. I'll just listen.
We'll put you there. I promise. She won't say a single word. She might sing.
Not a
for you.
word. It's gonna be Jensen's show.
So, Catie, I kind of want to go off buck a little bit here, if this is okay with you.
Mhm.
I happen to know that you are a fan of K-pop.
Ah, yes.
So I kind of want to talk a little bit about it because an album just dropped yesterday. Yes, yesterday, that I have been listening to like through and through. So can you tell me who your favorite K-pop group is and why it's Mamamoo?
Oh, well, the first thing that got me into K-pop was technically BTS. I love BTS. They're great. They're great guys. Love the performing. I have the little Wateo, right? That's Jin's little spaceman character he had with Coldplay. Wateo.
Yeah, so I don't know that much about BTS.
Oh, that's fine. You don't know greatness yet. That's all right. You can learn.
I know dang, what's the dude? I don't know what his name is off the top of my head, but he did the song Amygdala. It's his solo song.
Yes, you're talking about Suga.
Suga, yeah. I think his
Suga.
solo name is August D.
August
Yeah.
D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love his voice.
Have you seen that music video?
Yeah.
Exceptional. Just
Oh my
so
god, it's art.
creative. And I
Yep.
loved how he used mental health in that, as well as
Yes.
like what goes on in the brain. Like I've just never heard a song like that, you know? It's really creative just from a songwriting standpoint. Love it. Love it.
If I can get Aaron caught up here a little bit, because Aaron, I don't think you know too much about K-pop, and if you do, I'm sorry. I this isn't a conversation we've ever had before. And this wasn't something that we discussed in the BS session. So
He was just like, I'm going for it. YOLO.
I'm really good at being quiet. I was in the military and now I'm married. I'll sit here for 3 hours. That's fine.
So if you get the chance to, Aaron, I highly recommend you watch the music video Amygdala by August D, which is exactly what
just
we're
send it
talking
to
about
me.
here. Yeah, it's great.
Do you
And
guys have a favorite music video, like of all time? I'm just curious.
ooh,
Favorite music video of all time?
All time, boys.
dang, that is a hard.
You should have hit me with this the other day so I could think about it.
Yeah, that's
I'm
a hard question
sorry.
to answer.
You
So
know, we
one
have
song
time.
one song I want to listen to live. I'm going to answer this question as though it was a totally different question. A Life of Arctic Sounds. It's a politician answer, right?
Yeah,
That's fine.
I'm going to hear the question I want to hear. A
Okay.
Life of Arctic Sounds by Modest Mouse, because that I just there's something beautiful about the way it builds, and it's just utter nonsense. And we've talked about how I'm really just an insane philosopher. So the concept of shouting 900 miles is too far inside a car, like that speaks to me on such a spiritual level.
Poetic.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to say what my favorite music video of all time is.
I can see him opening up his browser. He's like, let's
Yeah.
see.
I wanted to give him some time, is why I went with
You
that.
can take some time. I can go. Let's.
Yeah, please, you go. God, I have to think about this.
I totally asked a question, that I already know the answer to for myself. So that's just a little bit unfair. I've had a little bit of time to think about it.
It's one of the ways interviews go.
You know, but I'm the guest. I gotta look good.
Pitching yourself a softball.
Right.
Hey, Catie, so who's your favorite? Yeah.
Right. For me, I really love Never Catch Me. It's a track by Flying Lotus featuring Kendrick Lamar. It just hits everything that I would want a music video to hit, and a song just, I think what it's saying socially, the social impact, politically, what it's saying, there's just a lot of layers to unpack there, and it's just so well done. And I get chills when the kids when they get out of their caskets and they start dancing, right, in the church, and they start following the hearse as they're going into the street. It's just an incredible, there's so much to unpack. I find new things every time I watch that music video.
And it's almost 5 minutes instead of 1.5, so you don't feel like you're getting gypped, from a listener standpoint.
Right. I love a story. I think, but music videos, I feel like you can be longer with those, right? That's your time to be theatrical, cinematic, and tell a crazy story, right? That has you on the edge of your seat.
Are there any songs that you're excited to put into a video format like that? Is there one that you're specifically I cannot wait? And
Yes.
What's one you can tell us about that you're excited to do like that?
I can't tell you anything.
Any of them? You can't tell us any of them. What about an oldie that you haven't done yet?
Okay, sure. Mountain Sound. I would love to do a video for that. I have a whole idea. I would love to shoot on Mount Nebo. That's a mountain in Arkansas, in the Ozarks. My family would always go there as a kid. So when I think of mountains, I think of Mount Nebo. I'd love to do that. I'd love a church, a gospel choir. I get vibes, Yeah.
Heck yes.
So that's kind of a vision I have in my head. But it's funny you say that. Certain songs, I think pictures immediately happen in artists' minds of I could see us doing this, and we could do this. There's so many possibilities.
Oh, definitely.
So Mountain Sound is an oldie that you're really looking forward to eventually putting in video format.
Exactly. Label.
If I have to say my favorite music video of all time right now,
Mm.
it's probably Bury a Friend by Billie Eilish.
Oh, yeah.
It's very weird, very creepy. It fits everything that I love, but it's such a hard question to answer because different music videos bring different emotions. So, because there's another song that I recently just found the music video to, so I'm still processing it, determining how much I actually love it. But it's called Without, what is it? I think it's Without Us or Without You.
While you're Googling that, Billie Eilish, come on the podcast.
It's called Without You, Without Us by Whitechapel. And it's just pure art to me. So I absolutely love it. The music video is a little unique and different, but of course it's a heavy metal song. So, their music videos are always strange. But I also want to answer the question that Aaron posed that everybody asked him.
Okay, so
Come on, guys.
If there's a song that you absolutely want that you need to see live, right? And my answer to that question is I've already experienced it. Back in 2014, I got to go and see Blue Oyster Cult live. And they are
Did you?
hands
What,
down
Reaper
my
Man?
absolute
Here comes the Reaper.
Burnin' For You is my favorite song by them.
Okay.
But they are hands down my favorite classic rock group of all time. They played all of my favorites: Godzilla, Don't Fear the Reaper, Burning for You. Shoot, I can't remember all the songs off the top of my head. Black Blade, I think is what it's called. One song they didn't play that I really wanted to hear live, and it's called Shooting Shark, and it's just phenomenal. But I digress. What about you, Catie?
What's the question?
One song that you have to see live.
Oh, there's so many. Are you kidding?
You get one.
There's
You get
so
one.
many.
What's your favorite music video? You only get one.
I love music. I think, you know what I think that I've always heard would sound really cool? Not a soul song, but Tonight by Smashing Pumpkins with like a live
Okay.
orchestra. I've
Wow.
always heard the people who've been able to see it. It's incredible. And I love that song. There's something very nostalgic about it and wistful. Like it's just very larger than life. I think that would be incredible to see live.
Smashing Pumpkins reach out.
Smashing Pumpkins reach out. Or I would love to see Ever After by Emily King if we're going to take it soul music. Would love. Or Sam Henshaw. I just want to go to your concert. I love him. Sam Henshaw.
Sam, hit us up. Make sure we can get a ticket for Catie, please.
Please come back to Dallas or go to LA. Either.
Or go to LA. We never got back to the K-pop though.
Oh,
Right.
Okay, let's come back.
Okay. So big thing that I wanted to bring up, right? Yesterday, group G Idol dropped their Heat EP. And I think I've told you this before already, but I really want to hear you do a cover of their song I Do.
Right.
What kind of goes into like if you were to do that, how difficult would that be for you beyond performing it?
I don't think it'd be that difficult. I mean, it's pop music, popular music, you know.
Then why isn't it out yet?
It's not what I do, Tim. I do R&B, soul music, and jazz. But I'm totally open to performing it. You know, maybe I'll take a request. You come to a show, I'll take a request, and we'll learn I do because those girls can sing. They're very good.
Yeah, they are very good. Or in November when we're all having family time together for Thanksgiving.
Here's the thing, Timothy. Okay, I always want to sing karaoke. The girls are not down. They get real shy.
I'll sing
So
with you.
if you'll be my buddy, I will go.
100%. I suck at singing. I'm almost tone deaf.
Yeah. Yes. Also, to bring it back to your question about Mamamoo, I love those girlies. I think for K-pop, they're some of the girls who can sang, as we say. You know, very soulful. They're R&B influences, Beyonce influences. It's really apparent in their music. I can hear it in their underlayers. So I love those girls. I saw them perform, and they're incredible.
You are so lucky. So lucky. I want to see them live.
Love them.
They are by far the best, most talented vocal wise when it comes to all the K-pop groups I listen to.
Okay, that's so great.
They just stand out so much. But yeah.
They do. They really developed their own sound within their genre, which I think is very hard to do when things start to sound the same in a format. I really commend them for that. Like they do stuff kind of like in a jazz way where I don't know what they're going to do next. I love that. I love that in an artist. I respect that.
Definitely. I can't wait to hear more music from you and to be your karaoke buddy. So
done and done. Thank you so much for having me on, boys. I really appreciate it. It's been a fun time.
So, Catie, we will roll out the red carpets before we do our closer. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Any shows coming up?
Well, you can look forward to new music soon. I promise. It's coming. I'm so excited. And please follow me if you're listening to me for the first time via this podcast. It's Catie Waters, Catie Waters. That's for Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, anything. Go check out my music. See if you dig it. We'll see. But thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Catie. And I also have you on Apple Music. So if anybody has Apple Music, she's on there as well.
Everywhere. Barnes & Noble, everywhere. Get it.
If you look for Catie Waters, you will find her.
Yeah. I literally, all the way here in Italy, I typed Catie W into the YouTube search bar at my tattoo artist's parlor, and she was the first person that showed up. So if you can't find her, you're lying.
It's with a C, not a K. Were you not listening?
Hit it with a C.
But thank you, Catie, for joining us. And I'd like to thank all of our listeners for joining us. This has been Aaron.
And Tim.
And Catie.
Send this episode to whoever it made you think about.
And comment below with what you want to hear us talk about, or tag someone you want us to bring on.
Be good to yourselves and each other. We love you.
Peace out.